Thank you very much. I will not be speaking too long, but I would like to address certain issues that I think can be useful so that in this discussion within this session, but also during the day, we can focus on. So, I would like first of all to express gratitude to the Council of Europe for a very strong support, serious support when it comes to the future of the operation of the government of Montenegro in this field. And a serious expert support that the Council of Europe will provide. That is something that the Deputy Prime Minister said. This government is making the high-quality plans that will be implemented definitely, which we insist on in our society. Not only plans, but also education and training, which is envisaged in your project. That is extremely useful, so thank you for that. I would also like to thank the government of the Netherlands, who is with us from the very beginning of this project, since they support this project. I think it's very important, as well as your experience, but also the experience of other countries. Thank you for that. The police of the Netherlands is here, and we already have a vision, clear vision. Mats Lindberg explained that when he spoke about this 2 years long project. So this is the vision and the policy of the government, which will certainly bring results. I'm sure everybody believes in that, in the European community as well. On the other side, we are also aware of certain issues, and we are already making the first steps, and we have support of the government of Netherlands, but also of the expert team. The rights in the Balkans for sexual minorities, and we already had certain discussions on improving the cooperation between the police of Montenegro and Netherlands in this field, and I hope that this will give results too. I think it will give results too. And I would like also to address certain very concrete situations that we should comment. I think that the international experts called this conference the historical conference, and I think that the thing that this conference should be called historical, but also the leadership conference in the region, is the fact that Montenegro, the government of Montenegro, organizes this event at all. And second thing is that the huge number of the most important international experts cooperates closely with this government. No other government in the world does this and has this, and this is a huge guarantee for success. And I do not doubt that success at all. So, the thing that is also very important to emphasize regarding this is the following. I will go to 3 parts. That is the analysis of the relevant legislation. That will be done within the project, and a high-quality analysis will be made. And I have to say that already now the Ministry of Justice is working on certain attempts of the analysis. Now I have more information from the inside than earlier when I was not here. So, but now I know that through the work of the commissions of the ministry, and I'm telling you from the experience of a couple of days that I spent in the government now, so there is a serious approach in the ministry. They already had this before this project. They want to solve these issues and harmonize their laws with international law. For example, the International Covenant. When you are outside of the government building, you do not perceive that, you do not see that they are doing this. And that's why I think, and I agree with the ambassador, that the dialogue is important. It is the most important with the civil sector as well. I would like to mention a very important thing as well within the analysis of the legal framework, and I'm sorry that people from the civil sector are not here. I, for a long time, have such a perception that Montenegro does not need any new criminal legislation which would treat these offenses. I have been talking for a long time about this. I think that the proper interpretation of the existing criminal legislation in Montenegro, we do have defined the crime hates. But all the people who protest now think that it is necessary. Look at the report of the Council of Europe, the Hammenberg report. We gave it, and they sent it to the participants of the conference. Just see how many countries in Europe have this issue regulated and everything functions. That was my attitude from the beginning. I think that with a high-quality interpretation of the existing criminal legislation in Montenegro, we do have everything that we need to implement in relation to the hate crimes. The total NGO sector thinks opposite. They protest and they boycott this conference. They think that they should have new law. And I'm sorry they are not here today because experts are here, so we could have discussed this with them. This was the concept of this conference, and I think it would be very useful if we could together reach the answer to this dilemma. But we will reach the answer, of course, but I think it would have been better with them. So as for the analysis of the legislation, I just focused on the hate crimes, and I refer to something that I have been talking for years, for a long time now. I would like also to focus on transgender persons and health, and there were certain cases in the European Court of Human Rights that oblige Montenegro, but also other countries. Serbia has not regulated it either. And I would like also to draw your attention to the aspect of the International Covenant Articles 2, 17 and 26. The case against Australia in 1994. That is something that Montenegro will certainly do. They will actually seriously consider it. They work on this, or they are working on this already. I already saw this. And there is another thesis here, to ensure that the legislation that they adopt is efficiently implemented. And as for that, I would like to say that, okay, you know, I am now in the government, so it is not such a comfortable position as you can think. Before that, I was in the university only. So now when you are in the government, you face the problem of implementing some things. I would like to say that to the politicians as well and to the media, and it's difficult to give the answer to this question. You have in Montenegro, in Serbia, in Croatia, you have the legislation that the multiple discrimination is prohibited. And I asked the professor also to say a few words about this, because nobody defines in the law what multiple discrimination is. So we say it's prohibited, but we don't have the definition, so it's impossible to implement it in the society where you don't have education and knowledge for that. The concept of multiple discrimination is an extremely serious and complex thing. So I would really fear to talk about this seriously. This was created in America, and I come from America. I was educated there, and people talk now about the implementation. I ask you how to implement the concept of the multiple discrimination. People in Europe don't have the definition of multiple discrimination. Leiden University, Professor Kiswalder worked on this, and her colleague worked on a very serious study about this. And on the level of Europe, there is no unique attitude when it comes to this issue. Of course, the Greens gave certain amendments to the European Parliament, but it does not mean that everything is regulated and defined. I asked Professor Olsen to say a few words about this, and Douglas Elliott is here. It would be really nice to hear about their experience in relation to this concept. The concept of intersexuality came from America, and it would be really great to hear a few words about this. And I'm not talking only about Montenegro here. I'm talking about Serbia and Croatia as well, and Montenegro, because we all copied the legislation, and we say, now we're better than Europe, but we don't have the definition of multiple discrimination, so we can't implement it. But I'm sure that this government will do the following thing, because we have this in the law already. I talked with the Williams Institute, where I worked also. So I talked with them that we should define the Montenegrin definition of multiple discrimination, so that we can show how serious we are, and to show that we can implement this law. And then Serbia will take our experience, because they don't have the definition of this concept, and then Croatia will take it as well. And then the whole region will benefit from that. And let me go back now to another important thing. We have the case Kozak versus Poland, March 2010. I asked Professor Miroslav Wyszychowski, the judge of the Supreme Court of Poland, if possible, to explain this case here. Why? Well, in my book that treats these issues, I quote the Polish law because it is almost identical to Montenegrin today. So the Polish law today is identical to the Montenegrin law today, and they lost the case before the European Court of Human Rights. I asked the Professor Wyszychowski to give more comments about this, since the case is from Poland, and he's from Poland, he's professor of the university and the judge of the Supreme Court, so he is the best person to talk about this. So these are the things that we should discuss seriously. And when we mention the action plan, and the aspects of NGOs that are important in this process, this is the process, and the Deputy Prime Minister said this very well yesterday. This is the process. We have to understand these issues, to put them on the paper. That is my approach, indeed. The academic approach, but also the political, under quotation marks. And if we want to understand that, we have to put serious things on the paper. We cannot write down a wish list. I would like to buy an airplane tomorrow, but I can't. How shall I do this? If we decide on the measures, they have to rely on the institutional capacities that we have, whatever they are, because we have to work step by step. I cannot jump certain steps. I mean, if you want to climb the stairs, you can't go first step and then the sixth one. You have to go back. You have to go the second, the third, etc., etc. The Deputy Prime Minister said that in great words yesterday. And I just wanted to talk about the examples, to initiate discussions. I just gave certain examples. I think it is explained well in this way. This will be my approach to my job now, because I don't think any different approach can give results and will not bring solutions. And I absolutely agree that when we make the front, all of us together with the NGOs, I think that then we should go step by step, slowly, and that we should accept the best solutions. But we can't do everything at once. That is one thing. And another thing, and I will finalize by saying that, this is just food for thought. In the London University, we worked, and I cooperated at that time with Juventus, and they helped us a lot, at least in the field part of the project. So we did a great, serious analysis, scientific analysis on acceptance of homosexuality in Montenegro. How people accept homosexuality here. We use the theory of planned behavior, theory of norms, the new concept of the theory of norms developed by Professor Håkan Heiden at the Lund University, and the results are not ready yet. They will be. It will be extremely useful survey when it is published. In a couple of months, I hope we will have this. But please understand this as an informal and unofficial information, but in communication with my colleagues, private communication, informal, I could hear that the situation is not really great. When it comes, I understood the following, but please take this with reserves, it's informal and unofficial. I understood that in Montenegro it's more acceptable to be a murderer than to be a homosexual. That's what the scientific analysis shows. In such circumstances, where the science shows this, I lived in Germany, you know, when there are 2 traffic accidents on one road, then they make a scientific analysis. And they say, this is the reason, the angle is wrong or something like that. And then the decision maker says, okay, now I will find the solution. So scientific analysis is very important. Scientific approach is very important. And that is something that in the Balkans countries avoid. And then you have the situation, oh, let us work together. We will say no, and then we will not do it. It shouldn't be like that. The science should give the direction, and the decision makers should bring to the solution through the mechanisms that can be used by the